Democrats had hoped might be able to crack into this very Trump-heavy
Yeah, right now we got cash. Hey, yeah. What? Oh, yeah. Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah. Oh, yeah. My demons talking to me. Bitch, now I'm trying to slide. Frankie is in his calling. Hit my phone in the morning. I need more drugs, more love, serotonin up. Bad bitch, she tryna fuck. Bitch, know I'm in the mud. Fuck it, I'm sipping muddy. Fuck it, I'm riding dirty. She know she wanna fuck me. Slide out, I'm in the cutty. Melodies talking to me. Niggas be on that weird shit. Fanboying on that cool shit. Discover me. Who is he? I don't know. Who is he? Who is she? Make a weed. Hit my phone when she horny. Take it down to the sun up. My bitch, she start my nut up. Talking about how she love me. She's been shot acting funny. The pressure hitting me early. She smoke all in the morning. Hey, yeah, now we do. We smoke all in the morning, man. Can't shit.
Shit, we smoking right now. I smoke gas like I'm a nature boy, cause it come from nature boy. I get that green like nature boy. Crack a cold one with my boys. All this law make hella noise. Ball like I don't have a choice, but I don't never practice. Hey, I smoke gas like I'm a nature boy, cause it come from nature boy. Get the green like nature boy. Crack a cold one with my boys. All this law make hella noise. Ball like I don't have a choice, but I don't never practice. But I don't practice. But I don't never practice. Hey, said but I don't never practice. Can't be my boy if you trip over bitches. Cop a big house with my whip in the kitchen. Look at my wrist when I whip in the kitchen. And cover your eyes and my diamonds is twisted. Screaming she love me, I just put the tip in. It's so fucking hard, so I think I'm a spaz. She feel like my boss is supreme on attack. I'm not a game, so I could never lag. Bitches play games, then throwing the flag. I drop a track, didn't know how to act. Hip hop is dead and we bringing it back. Go trying to spark and he asked me to match. But I think blunt, he don't gotta act. Spin on the show with you hiding his stats. Interest transmission, I'm gone in a flash. Hey, yeah, hey.
Bitch, I'm Mr. Clean. Fuck Margella. Bitches off the glass. Like she's Cinderella. She just want the cash. Cheese mozzarella. I ain't got no fat up pockets. Looking salmonella. Looking like I'm broke. Think I need a lick. Trying to double up. So I copped a mid. Goofy hit my phone. Yo, who got the gas? Like I need a zone. Served his ass and then I laugh. Yeah, yo, bitch a eater. Take her home and feed her. Don't care how I treat her. She just wanna eat comida. Yeah, yo, bitch a eater. Take her home and feed her. Don't care how I treat her. She just wanna eat comida. Bitch, I'm Mr. Clean. Fuck Margella. Bitches off the glass. Like she's Cinderella. She just want the cash. Cheese mozzarella. I ain't got no fat up pockets. Looking salmonella.
On bust down, yeah, I hit up bro, that my bro, riding wrist on bust down. Yeah, 2 poles identical, 2 holes my denture soul. You studied talking shit, oops, I just let it go. Used to smoke on extra, then I switched up to the vegetable. I got extra flows, I got extra hoes. I'm so extra, I shot extra for the medical. Booth pack is all I know, booth pack by the boat. 2 A's to the face, chest taken by the blow. 2 fake, you a snake, seen it in a chronicle. That wet like it rain. Ice so long, want my neck and my wrist on froze. So froze, I get a cold. 2 twins identical, 2 hoes both centerfolds. Y'all should know I don't get no fuss now. I'm on go till my wrist on bust down. Yeah, I hit up bro, that my bro. Riding around with the smoke and a pole. I can't go, y'all should know I don't get no fucks now. I'm on go till my wrist on bust down. Yeah.
Perky dropped out, pop out, make him drop out. I know the ops out, make it pop out. About to slide out, ops out, need to slide out. Perky dropped out, pop out. Hey, yeah, this case of bitch. What? The right project. Yeah, hey, oh, hey, the ops out, need to slide out. Perky dropped out, pop out, make him drop out. I know the ops out, make it pop out. About to slide out, demons talking, Holyfield calling. Who you talking to? I'll rob you in your blood too. Perky, 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 yeah. What? Yeah, ops out, need to slide out. Perky dropped out, pop out, make him dropped out, make it pop out. About to slide out, Zanny's calling me, I won't answer though. I just stay in my house, she asked me why though. Then she blocked my phone, I'm a druggy hoe, that's why I did it though. Slide out, Perky Zanny, yeah, she wanna fuck, so I gave her nut, side off from the cut. Subi jeans, keep my steel tuck. I know I got it up because the ops out. I need to slide out, Perky dropped out, pop out, make him drop out, make it pop out, about to slide out. Bitch, I'm iced out, she wanna fuck now. Bitch, I'm on go, Zanny, Zanny, whoa, ayy. She wanna fuck, oh, purple stay po, lay low, cause the ops out. Need to slide out, make him drop out, make it pop out, what? Slide, yeah, ops out, make it slide out, ayy, drop out, ops out, make him drop out. I know them ops out, make it pop out, drop out, make him pop out, yeah, ayy, yeah, cash, yeah, ayy.
Slide out, Zanny's calling me. I won't answer though. I just stay in my house. She asked me why though. Then she blocked my phone. I'm a druggy hoe, that's why I did it though. Slide out, Perky Zanny, yeah, she wanna fuck, so I'm solid. Slide out, Perky dropped out, pop out, make him drop out. I know the ops out, make it pop out. About to slide out, demons talking, Holyfield calling. Who you talking to? I'll rob you in your blood too. Perky, 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 yeah.
I'm a motherfucking psycho, yeah. I'm sick like a bitch on her cycle, yeah. Whole clique play with sticks like a dyke-ho. If you acting trife, moonwalk like I'm Michael, damn. Bitch, I'm a motherfucking psycho, yeah. Sick like a bitch on her cycle, yeah. Whole clique play with sticks like a dyke-ho. If you acting trife, moonwalk like I'm Michael, damn.
Yeah, go get the stick. I'll show these dogs I'm Mike Big. I'm like a bitch. I keep my hand on my click. I'm in this bitch. I do the shit that you can't. Cause I'm the shit. I get applause, you get booed. Yeah, I'm in the stew. Smoke goes packed with your boo, yeah. Yeah, stuck off that goo, yeah. No, it's not glue, yeah. Won't bill for a deuce. Look drunk on the truth, you're right in my juice.
Yeah, bitch, I'm a motherfucking psycho, yeah. I'm sick like a bitch on her cycle, yeah. Whole clique play with sticks like a dyke hoe. If you acting trife, moonwalk like I'm Michael, damn. Bitch, I'm a motherfucking psycho, yeah. Sick like a bitch on her cycle, yeah. Whole clique play with sticks like a dyke hoe. If you acting trife, moonwalk like I'm Michael, damn.
Walking with them bands, I won't drop, ayy. Take a look, all this sounds like I'm shopping. Give me talk, keep it sloppy. Had a girl, keep me up like a coffee. You and I, not alike. Bitch, I'm up like a star, you a satellite. I don't fuck with the ops, you the opposite. Smoking on a split while you sitting in the office, bitch. Hey, I don't think you want it. Vision and vision, we shot calling. Quit sweating me, bitch, this ain't a sauna. Yeah, I'm bored, I might need a new opponent. Yeah, yeah. You and I are not alike. Bitch, I'm up like a
Why you sitting in the living bitch? Yeah, bitch, I'm a motherfucking psycho. Yeah, I'm sick like a bitch on her cycle. Yeah, whole clique play with sticks like a dyke. If you acting trife, moonwalk like I'm Michael. Damn, bitch, I'm a motherfucking psycho. Yeah, sick like a bitch on her cycle. Yeah, whole clique play with sticks like a dyke. If you acting trife, moonwalk like I'm Michael. Damn.
Before a nigga knew his ABCs. Bitch, I been ballin', I should've started in New Orleans. Ballin' so hard, I think I should be voted MVP. 1, 2, 3, bitches all on me, and they on their knees. Switch it up and watch me pick it up. Trap chopping like a hit, quick flex before we stick you up. Stick you up and run my digits up. Oh shit, there he go again. Y'all smoking gas, you can keep the hand. Diamonds flashing like a Dokin. I said my diamonds flashing like a Dokin.
Switch it up and watch me pick it up. Trap chopping like a hit, quick flex before we stick you up. Stick you up and run my digits up. Oh shit, there he go again. Y'all smoking gas, you can keep the hand. Diamonds flashing like a Dokin. I said my diamonds flashing like a Dokin. Switch it up and watch me pick it up. Trap chopping like a hit, quick flex before we stick you up. Stick you up and run my digits up. Oh shit, there he go again. Y'all smoking gas, you can keep the hand. Diamonds flashing like a Dokin. I said my diamonds flashing like a Dokin.
Hey, made a living off the dope. Whole force finna blow. Let them know, let them know. Let them know, let them know.
You know I rock, yeah, let them know. These niggas on top, let them know. The outs on the block talk about getting info. Nigga, that shit we don't let them know.
Let them know, let them know. Let them know, let them know.
Sip the drink until I'm thrown. Hella they going around the globe.
Let them know, let them know. 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 Ayy, Southside, what it do? Dollars on me, crib blue. Fuck 12, free the woo. All my life I broke the rules. I fuck it, then she get the boo. I look at these rappers like fool. You cannot do what I do. Stop trying to move how I move. Niggas mad, they ain't us. Now shawty mad, she ain't let me hit it. 203, feeling. Still that same nigga. Got my code with me like Weezy Sue. He don't sip the walk, he just mix it. Like a 99 Jay-Z, underground king, ho, I'm been pimpin'. Might pull up, just to pull up. Hop out, looking like a billion. On one talking fame business. And your home mouth like a dentist. Stay racking up, check out the check. Might roll the whole patch on the flex. Living God in the flesh, bitch. Slide through, leave it wet. Drip, made a living off the dope. Whole force finna blow. Let them know, let them know. Let them know, let them know.
You know I rock, yeah, let them know. These niggas on top, let them know. The outs on the block talk about getting info. Nigga, that shit we don't let them know.
Let them know, let them know. Let them know, let them know.
Sip the drink until I'm every dough. And no, I did not wipe my feet. I'm counting faces, you counting sheep. I'm just a wolf in the wool. Can't let them know what I do. Blonde-headed bitch look like Sailor Moon. Hopped in the coupe, after what it do. Just getting started, it's like 1 or 2. They been like, just take it easy, dog. I've been starving fasting like it's Ramadan. Let them know the type of shit I'm on. Let them know, ay.
Made a living off the dope. Whole force finna blow. Let them know. Let them know.
You know how I rock, yeah, let them know. These niggas on top, let them know. The ops on the block talking about getting info. Nigga, that shit we don't let them know.
Let them know.
Sip the drink until I'm thrown. LA's known around the globe.
Let them know. Who the man with the plan that 12 years I was doing grown shit? Who the man, true the man? Well, I'm just saying stuff like you don't know this. Want everything I don't got. Sipping on that dirty no flip. Might just blow up your whole block. Like I'm tied in with ISIS. Been waiting to go flip the script, but I don't really think they ready yet. Pussy E be the deadliest. Skip school but still intelligent. Broke the rules, you can't tell me shit. Had days fresh from the pit. Smooth villain take a hold from you, but still treat it like a gentleman. You can keep throwing shade, I'm gonna get it either way. If you got all the clout, then stop paying for your plays. We do this every day. Saitama on the stage. Best ride the wave or get lost in it. Everything we do authentic. LA starting epidemics, then we really witty, yeah. How we coming, ain't no stopping, let a nigga interfere. I don't got shit to lose, but everything to gain. Just might pull up with Young Kodo and Leah MIA. Yo, I got them shit and they scared. I know the accident's over his head, yeah. Shorty pass by, I'm like, damn, I follow that ass with my ass to the bed, yeah. Shorty is bad, buy some shit without flipping the tag, yeah. I got a bag, yeah. Flip on a bitch with a trick on their ass. I got them shit and they scared. I know the accident's over his head, yeah. Shorty pass by, I'm like, damn, I follow that ass with my ass to the bed, yeah. Shorty is bad, buy some shit without flipping the tag, yeah. I got a bag, yeah. Flip on a bitch with a trick on their ass.
Got them bitch up in the zoo, riding all up in the cool. We just smoking on some boo. Got it early since the youth. KOK and times 10, but when I fuck your bitch, it's times 2. Take a bitch for a quick lunch just to get some top, then a school. We just came back from a show. Made a rat on a show. Picked up a bag at the door. Running it back for some more. Lil Chris, I'm saying. See me driven down the bags. 23, so no funny shit. Check an ID for a face. Make a play, fuck a plan. Got them bands on the man. Shorty said that she liked the drugs, so I came equipped with a Zan. Aw shit, I'm the man. Plugged in like a land. Might fuck around, might make a play to a friend.
Slide through a new whip, bitches on point, but it's got tips. I'm told. We fucking like always. Like bitch with a man, bitch with a man. She answer quick 'cause she knows. You putting the car on the band and dropping the track like a brick in the ocean. I got them shit and they scared. I lower the accident's over his head, yeah. Shorty pass by, I'm like, damn, I follow that ass with my ass to the bed, yeah. Shorty is bad, buy some shit without flipping the tag, yeah. I got a bag, yeah. Flip on a bitch to a trick on their ass. I got them shit and they scared. I lower the accident's over his head, yeah. Shorty pass by, I'm like, damn, I follow that ass with my ass to the bed, yeah. Shorty is bad, buy some shit without flipping the tag, yeah. I got a bag, yeah. Flip on a bitch to a trick on their ass.
Let's do it. Yeah. She put my dick in the throat. I drop a lean in the coat. I got
at the beds of the boat. I don't need love, I need dope. I'm getting racks up a soap. Spicy in water afloat. Spend a whole check on the coat. I don't need love, I need dope. 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 Told a little bitch me she dope. Passion just bring me the coke. I'll just break down on my own. Pills in that pussy, my home. Bring all the mud to my moat. I'll bring the pills in the coke. Go bring the kitty and rope. I don't need love, I need dope. 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 I don't need love, I need dope.
I don't need love, I need dope. I don't need food, I need dough. Yeah, this money just keep me afloat. Trying to get back the soul that I sold. But they watching, they know that I know. You ain't reaching me, boy, cause I'm cold. Man, this village, I call it my home. But I don't need your love, I need dough. I don't need love, I need dough, cause I'm broke. I don't need love, I need dough, I need dough. I don't need love, I need dough. I don't need love, I need dough, cause I'm broke. I don't need love, I need dough, cause I'm broke. I don't need love, I need dough. I don't need love, I need dough. I don't need love, I need dough.
I don't need love, I need dope. 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 For the little love, I need dope.
Boy, I'm smoking on gas with my kinfolk. Should I been like 2 feet down and you niggas just 10 toe. You just 10 toe. Niggas just tiptoe. You just tiptoe. And I walk through the field. Rocket came from overseas, what man. And I come shit buddy hill. Niggas don't want beef, man. They just want pork, cause niggas squill. And I pulled 2 bitches from the club and I fucked around, became a third wheel. But it's cool though. I'm smoking gas in the studio. And this college bitch got some stupid throat. But I pass on her like Rubio.
I toss your home in the dump.
Cause I don't want the bitch, man, she white hoe. Should I pass on her cause the bitch white? Her nose red but the powder white. I don't drink lean, I like clean Sprite. She don't like me, then the bitch a thing. I left the bitch just to get right. Niggas shit it like an ass white. Yeah, they dig round for a spotlight. Man, they dig round for a couple lights. What the fuck, man? Tried to tell him. Oh, shit. I tried to tell him. Oh, shit. I tried to tell him. I tried to tell him.
When I pass your whole like Rubio to my partner, them, my kinfolk. She give it top of some Miley rock right over there by the corner store. She love me cause I got them bows, and when she behave, I give a thought. She just get for me on a low. She started talking her
vitamins from Mr. Pickles.
You got it, man, guy?
I don't need no extend though, cause I shoot good.
There we go. That should be good. Welcome everybody.
Yo, welcome.
Yo. Go ahead and do the intro, Dan. Repeat it back.
Oh man, I don't even remember, but we're all characters, and all of this is a mirage. Nothing is.
It's for jokes. So, just laugh.
All jokes.
We got plenty of them tonight. Look at the news, boys. Come on. What do we? Damn.
Yeah, Struts. Struts is a good joke.
Hey. About execution.
Microsoft with encryption. You know the goods.
Yo, that hard drive story. Holy crap.
Dude, that is beautiful.
Yeah, we want to just jump straight into that.
Do it.
Yeah. Jumping JTAG. You know, it's they managed to fucking do that with a buffer overflow in some cases. It's amazing. Wow.
Did you guys look and read the paper from Matthew Green? I think I didn't actually read the whole thing.
Yeah, what it looks like is that as far as the hard drive thing goes, Samsung and a few other manufacturers literally just weren't cryptographically tying the password to the actual data encryption key, which are both stored in the. So you could basically just JTAG or whatever, overwrite your firmware, modify your firmware on your drive itself to literally just not require a password, and it would decrypt everything for you.
Default master password was actually null. Like that was it. And if you overwrote that manually, that's where the JTAG or buffer overflow would come in to set that right back. And since Windows by default trusts the hardware encryption, if it's offered up, then it's entirely on that drive.
It's a huge black eye for Microsoft.
If it's in a runs, sorry, Dan.
I was just saying it's a huge black eye for Microsoft.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I guess
even though it's all on the drive, it's still Microsoft's implementation. Like, why trust that shit?
Yeah.
Who trusts that shit? You trust that shit?
Oh no.
I'll talk to you about it.
Yo, I main Windows and I don't trust that shit.
No, fuck that, dude. You don't roll security and Windows in the same fucking sense at any point in time. So I think it's just garbage, honestly. If someone's depending on that, they're not actually protecting someone. It's because it was required for someone to go like on site. They have a TPM, they enable it, they set a pin, they get back, they decrypt again. That's like the only fucking purpose BitLocker has for me.
Well, speaking of that, sorry, go ahead, DNC.
If you connect to the device while it's in a run state and it's decrypted, right? You should, like, if you have access to the firmware, can you not just like address blocks on the disk directly once it's like in this state?
I'm not sure. I'm actually having a hard time hearing you, dude. Your volume's a little low.
Yeah. A little quiet. But in this specific situation, it was with Opal, and all you need is the drive. You don't need the system or anything, because all the encryption was handed off entirely to the drive itself. So it creates some interesting situations, and I think if anybody's maybe found or stolen or just somehow they have a drive that was BitLockered, maybe there's some cryptocurrency on there. Things like that. I think there's some potential for a lot of lost data suddenly being found.
I actually have a Kingston SSD here that's quote dead, but the controller still works on it, so I should try and JTAG that this week.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the other thing is they only tested I think it was 2 different brands, 3. So this was definitely not a full test of all the hardware out there.
That's interesting. So there's potentially way more that are affected.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. This is a tiny sample.
Yikes. Well, so who actually uses BitLocker, without trying to be funny?
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Anybody using Windows, I've noticed.
In environments where they rely on BitLocker?
Yeah.
I've never really even heard of it being used even in production corporations.
Well,
I've seen it. Yeah.
TrueCrypt were telling people that they should be using BitLocker.
Ugh. There's a wild.
That's some old history, though, man. Think about that. That's when they gave up. Then that's when Veracrypt came to be. So
yeah, Veracrypt is where it's at. I think if you want safe encryption, Veracrypt is definitely the choice, right?
Yeah. If you're not running.
I mean, on Nix, you've got multiple options like eCryptFS, like just for the home directory, but then like full disk Lukes or whatever.
Oh, yo, speaking of Windows and encrypting it with BitLocker, most of the time it relies on TPM, but there's also, I believe it's like some sort of reg flag that you throw that it's more or less like, let me just ignore the fact that you don't have a TPM chip and encrypt the drive anyway. And it's like,
Yeah, but the thing that gets me is Microsoft notoriously phones home with things, and I just personally don't trust them not to phone home with your secret key. I just don't.
Or so you guys probably missed the day after we did the 24-hour stream where we were all asleep. Nux did another quick stream where he did his Danderspritz walkthrough as well, and I mean that's definitely capability that will fits into that framework.
Huh. When was that again?
was like the day, like on Monday or Tuesday. I think it was Monday because we finished the stream on the 24-hour stream on Sunday, which, by the way, went really well. We raised over 3,000 USD in the end.
Yeah, man, that was really good. That was really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I mean, I think we were all, almost unconscious by the end, but well worth.
Yeah. I made a beat out of G.I. Joe samples.
Yeah, you were keeping it going with those samples. That was good. The momentum was hard to keep it moving, but we figured it out. And
it
went. It was good.
Yeah, I was schlepped and had a function fail. That was fantastic. I was like, oh, I guess that doesn't work. And then I forked and fixed it real quick. Like a fucking idiot.
Very nice.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I think the Twitch to shell thing definitely was a hit.
Yeah, dude, that thing. Yeah, that was engaging, fun. That was awesome.
Troll times.
Anyone who's listening who didn't see our Twitch to shell, you were able to run commands on a remote shell through the Twitch chat, and you had to root the box. And somebody did eventually, after many people typing sudo, like just sudo anything, or attempting to like read files we knew didn't have permissions, like everyone fucking knew, and just like fucking up. Eventually, Twitch rooted the box. And I believe the prize was a CLSSP and 3 months of pen tester lab.
Yeah. Congrats to that person.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I think it's going to be making a comeback for future episodes. We just have to write out new challenges and whatnot. And I think also as we kind of figure it out, it'll because like you have to kind of figure out something that makes it doable in that period of time, right? You have to hit like a sweet spot between being too hard and being too easy.
Yeah, I mean, there's like this delay between the Twitch chat and the box that, like, 5 people type commands and you don't see it for 15 seconds.
Or someone puts you into Vim and you get lost.
Yeah, like Twitch can't exit Vim.
That's one of the really unique parts about it, is that you're all sharing one TTY basically. Like, you don't get separate shells. You're all sharing one command line, that makes it really fun.
Oh yeah.
It's fun / frustrating, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, news topic 2. This is just kind of coming out right now, but it's TAF has posted about FaceTime call from an attacker can cause remote iOS kernel memory corruption.
Yes, so this was Natalie. I can't say her surname. I'm just not gonna try.
Natalie.
But Natalie, she man, I've followed her on Twitter for ages. But anyway, so yeah, like there was I'll just dump the Project Zero link into Twitch chat there. But yeah, making a FaceTime call and answering it was able to cause remote kernel memory corruption on iOS. So she apparently made a call to a whole room of developers, and all of their phones crashed at the same time. That's pretty cool.
Well, it's just another example of is anyone at Apple fuzzing fucking anything ever? What's wrong with you guys?
Speaking of, Snare did put out a tweet. If somebody wants to go and work in, I think it was in iPhone security, go look at Snare on Twitter and put out some details.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not surprised by anything anymore. I just quickly looked over this, and it looks like it was a malformed RTP streams, which is similar to other crashes that affected Facebook and WhatsApp and a couple of others. WebRTC stuff.
Yeah, I think the way that a lot of those streaming video protocols work as well is like they support multiple codecs. So you need to one codec could be bad that you're not intending to use, and then all of a sudden.
But this was reported by the Chromium team, right?
It was
Project Chromium.
Project Zero.
Did it show what they used to fuzz it? Like, how did they actually fuzz this?
I'm not
No,
sure.
not yet. There's not enough detail about it yet. But
yeah.
you look at the RFC and you look at previous RTP crashes in like Video Land and other players, in-player and stuff like that, you probably get a pretty good idea of.
Yeah, I mean, the link has the POC kind of thing in it.
Oh, okay. But what's like?
All I see is I see a bunch of people complaining about responsible disclosure. That's pretty normal for Twitter. Just have a list of people complaining about shit.
Whatever. It's more fun this way.
I don't see any real technical detail.
I'm curious how people fuzz streams though. Like I don't actually know that much about it. Like fuzzing actual stream protocols. I'm guessing
I
they're
think it's
by now, right?
it's like a markup language with like large blobs of data encoded inside it.
Yeah.
Actually,
So
fairly
the other thing
trivial.
as well. The other thing with the codecs as well is like you can have a streaming codec that is a static file as well. So you can build like a static video stream that you run through like VLC or whatever, and like test the codec through like GStreamer or something like that. And if the problem is with that codec itself, like then you could be looking there, or it could be the container like the MKV or the AVI or whatever, not the actual codec itself, or then it could be the streaming protocol, which is on top of that as well.
However, we're getting bogged down in the semantics of it. The issue here is, why does it crash the kernel?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
That's the main point.
Why are we in kernel land when we're making FaceTime call? Isn't this a user
Right.
land?
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but when you said that a room full of iPhones went down, I just instantly jumped that like somebody brought helium in there or something.
Oh yeah, that was a good read. Yeah,
I think like the sad reality is that no actual hacker has looked at this stuff. A bunch of people with a lot of post nominals and CISPs and stuff look at these things, and they run tutorials from 15 years ago on how to secure these protocols, but no one with any actual interest has taken a good look at it. Or if they have, they're nation state and you don't hear about it.
All right, I have to throw a curveball at this.
Yep.
So, yeah, you guys should check this out because this was about Apple's onboard encryption devices blocking Linux released today, which I thought was interesting for sure.
I saw this headline. I have no knowledge of it. What's the deal with it?
It doesn't allow you to run Linux on it from.
Well, how? Like, does it know that you're trying to run Linux and say bad user?
I haven't ran through it yet. I don't have a T2 chip. Can't say that I'll get one. But to be honest, it just says that it doesn't allow you to kernel boot any Unix distribution.
Interesting.
Which, yeah, it's really weird, especially from a controls perspective. What do you tend to think about farming from companies like them?
Weird, yeah.
So, staying on the topic of Apple kernel, I found this next bug that we're going to talk about I found it's a pretty ridiculous place that I'm surprised hasn't been found sooner, and it's definitely been found sooner. But just whoever has found it definitely hasn't wanted to disclose it. I mean,
I'm gonna move on to the ICMP packet.
Yep.
Back to the old days of Ping of Death.
Yep.
So, sending
are you into the
ICMP
strut?
No, it's the
talking
Apple
about strut?
XNU ICMP bug, CV 2018-44.
Okay.
So, ICMP traffic again able to corrupt memory in XNU. So that was fixed, I think, with last week or the week before, maybe, with the Mac OS X updates, or Mac OS it's called now.
Okay. Yeah.
So like
amazing that this wasn't discovered by somebody just accidentally running a HPing.
Right.
You know,
yeah, exactly.
random flags. Oh wow. No fuzzing going on at Apple once again.
But nobody's code reviewed like the ICMP handler until right now. Until right now, it's taken until like all this time for somebody to go, you know what, ICMP is a thing.
Yeah.
ICMP doesn't make them any money. Fuck, man. Why would they put any effort at all into stuff they can just steal from like Unix world? Doesn't make them any
So
money.
I got a question. Is this actually coming from the BSD side, from pretty much their repositories, or is this actually proprietary Apple software that's actually handling the ping?
You're probably right that they've taken like a library from the early 2000s or something with the BSDI license on it, and then built from there.
Yeah, definitely. It's
And
part of
it
executing.
reintroduced an a bug that Linux probably dealt with 8-10 years ago, but
BSD would have dealt with it, but yeah. It's definitely why are they not tracking upstream when it comes to something so important?
Kind of begs the question if it's going to be we're going to actually see this again somewhere with OpenBSD or FreeBSD.
No, I think I'm pretty certain that if this exists, either of those two, we would have seen it by somebody would have cross-checked that by now. But,
yeah, I'm guessing that probably happened when this first came out.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
History has been repeating itself over and over again. It's definitely gonna happen again.
Yeah, it's
gonna be fun when this POC gets released. It's gonna be for a good time.
You can go and exploit it now. I there was
it's like ping minus C and then command you want to execute as root on an Apple device. I wouldn't be surprised. It's the actual echo payload. Just echo payload. Like, what type is that? Type 1? Is that echo?
Yeah. The thing about this is there's so much attack surface on something like an OS, and it's like if you're not doing security right, like things like this will happen.
If you can't get ping right, then I don't know if you should be one of the most expensive businesses in the world, richest people in the world. I don't know. Maybe I'm just old school.
Yeah. And I think it comes as like.
Faith, are you saying Apple should close because of this?
Oh, absolutely. Just give it up. Like, if you can't get ping right, can you imagine Wozniak reading this in his house? Like, what the fuck?
I'm just trying to find the ping switch? BSD source right now.
Well, speaking of not being able to get anything right, struts.
Hey, the back door.
It is a back door. I don't even know what it does. I forgot what it does. All I know about struts is vulnerabilities. Yeah.
It provides access to attackers very well.
Yeah. Like, struts might as well be sub 7 as far as I'm concerned.
Don't rely on struts, man. Just put it on air. You know what I'm saying?
Hang on a minute. Can I just point out some irony here that isn't Confluence hosted? Isn't that written on?
Yeah, I think it's integrated with it. Yeah.
And the link that is the struts vulnerability advisory is on a struts fucking.
Oh God, yes. Oh, that's sweet. Somebody should have said.
You're right, DNC.
Great.
I thought you were seizing, man.
Hopefully it's honey. It's patched and honey potted to fuck, right? That's what we would do. It'd be like, come at me. Like, here's the information. We're vulnerable. Show us what you got.
Yeah, let's put the vulnerability details on the vulnerable side.
Got reverse scripts for skids to come across. It's fantastic.
I honestly wonder how many people work on the Struts project at this point.
I think it's just one guy, and his name is Steve Struts, and he's an asshole. He doesn't listen to people.
It's because he's a super sport. What do you mean?
Bro, he doesn't check Bugzilla. Just keeps coding, bro.
Steve Strut.
He uses Firebug.
To answer that question, 38 people work on Strat.
Well, what the fuck, people? Come on.
Yeah, what are the 37 of them doing?
Struts has literally been the catalyst for the most egregious breaches in our fucking history.
And they're almost all based on that OGNL expression.
Yeah.
It's fucking amazing. It's amazing.
It's like dumb macro shit. What are you doing? Like again, nobody's fuzzing this clearly,
Yeah.
except people looking for exploitable vulnerabilities. No
yeah.
developers at all.
The thing about it, right,
Really?
is like once struts got popped for the first time, then everyone's like, "Oh yeah, let's look at this tire fire."
Yeah, right.
And so this is once again just the result of more people being like, "Oh yeah, what the fuck's this?"
It's everywhere too.
Yeah, as soon as someone shines a light on something, you see how really bad it is.
The fucked up thing is that it's everywhere and it's not being deprecated out. Like people aren't getting rid of it. They just keep updating to more opportunities to get owned.
Yeah,
There's a lot of seems people hide behind the Apache branding. Like Apache inherits these products or projects, and just because it's got Apache in front of it doesn't mean it's up to the Apache web server standard, and it doesn't have anywhere near that many eyeballs on it.
Honestly, if I was on the Apache board, I would have distanced myself from this years ago. It's clearly a risk, right? Like, why would you even want your name anywhere near it?
Well, OWASP has a lot of really terrible projects as well with their name on it, and that doesn't seem to affect them. So,
Wait, what? I didn't hear.
OWASP.
Oh yeah, well, true.
They have a similar problem. They've got some really, really good products, and then they've got a lot of dead weight that they really need to get rid of, but they just can't.
Yeah.
Because of politics and boards and committees and bureaucracy.
Well, there was a great write-up someone who was supposedly an insider at Google wrote, and it was about how the reason why no one patches shit is because everyone's too busy trying to launch a product, because you could patch 10,000 bugs and that doesn't get you a promotion. It's being, launching this stupid thing no one will use again. Like that's what drives revenue, and that's what gets people promoted, right?
The cold hard truth, but that is actually absolutely right.
That's right.
Yeah,
Get all the teenagers talking to each other on some video-to-video chat application thing. Then a year later, all the hackers come along and say, nobody even looked at the security of this. No, we were too busy getting kids to sign up and buy gems to give each other fucking gems in this stupid application. Give a shit about security.
Really interesting thing. I think we have a runway to go downwards still. Like I think it can get worse, and it's going to get worse before it gets better.
I don't know. That's become pretty fucking apparent, right? Over the past 5 years, especially as far as what you're seeing people produce.
Yeah,
people that are active researchers.
They're simplifying
monolithic projects. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying they're simplifying and stripping security out of everything, and the result of that is just going to be worse and worse security. And hopefully, eventually, at some point, it'll change. But for now, it's just downward.
Well, how many people actively pay attention to stacks they're running? Like, think about that from a vulnerability perspective. It's not many. Like, it takes a lot, man. You gotta be like full stack. You gotta architect things. You gotta do them the right way, and that's like definitely a different way of thinking. But I love it for that. It's a lot of fucking fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems like a really good. It's like kind of the wild, wild west feeling of the '90s, where you can just explore every single new thing that comes out, and likely find and poke holes in it.
Yeah, we're not sponsored by Red Dead Redemption, but that might have let into my perspective on this conversation.
You rattlesnake.
Yeehaw, boys.
The complexity is. Go ahead, sorry.
So I was gonna say, just to divert, just very, very quickly. I just had to look at the BSD tree, like for a free BSD tree, for that ICMP bug, and that code that's described looks the same. I don't know if it's vulnerable, but maybe it is. Maybe there is some code in between it that could potentially mitigate, but I don't know enough about it. Anyway,
if anyone wants to just build an open BSD box.
there's also the FreeBSD's got like the PF kind of layer on top of it that might accidentally solve this for them. That
The PF should be after this. This should be first. I'm 99% certain that those headers, like the PF uses this in order to handle it.
Should be fun to watch.
That's kind of
Sorry,
what it
MG.
sounded.
Back to MG.
Back to MG.
Back to MG. Back to you.
Back to MG.
Back to you, MG.
Maybe it's like Beetlejuice. It's MG, MG, MG.
Just want to talk
Shit
about
out
what
of
we were
there.
talking about earlier.
Someone in the thing posted in the chat this virtual box 0 day.
Yeah, it will you in the voice,
Oh,
right?
and the Ethernet adapter. Yeah, I saw that.
Yep.
Hey.
So,
yeah, what do we think?
Is it real? I just saw it. I haven't seen anything about this until just now.
I mean, this was posted this morning. Like, I saw it in general chat, like on like Twitter, and I posted in general chat then. But it basically is like somebody had said earlier today that like, oh, VM escapes in 2018 like doesn't happen, and then like straight away it was like, check out this E1000 like vulnerability. But I read it really briefly, and yeah, so from the guest, you create a loadable kernel module that you then load in your guest, which exploits the virtual device on the host. And there's also explanation in there for ASLR bypassing as well on the host. So you're able to like bust your container through the pretty small layer, which is the virtual devices like exposed by the hypervisor. So it's a very cool thing that we're seeing less and less of busting out of VMs.
It's actually a really good write up. Now that I'm skimming through it, looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the guy says right at the top, like this is basically full disclosure. So go nuts, everyone.
Hell yeah, full disclosure.
Fun disclosure.
Yeah.
Okay, and what are we on to now? More critical vulnerability in multiple high privilege Android services.
Surprise. Anyone?
Surprise.
Surprise.
I didn't read. Did anyone read through this one?
No. You see Android anymore. This is snoozable, man. It fucking sucks.
I read it was on shared memory and HIDL and binder. I don't know. I read through it. This isn't really my strong suit. But it looked like it had to do with 64-bit and 32-bit. Like when you give something something about shifting 64-bit integers down to 32-bit integers, it only takes part of the memory address, so you can point it in the wrong direction.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good then.
Yeah, and it's exploiting it over so the shared memories like through the IPC from HIDL, which is slightly interesting.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't seem like anything too crazy. I mean, it's one of those things that it's one of those bugs that I see and I go, "Yep, that's expected."
I mean, I'm just trying to see though, like I'm trying to look at how you like grab that hardware abstraction and then actually trigger this bug. Like, do you have to plug in something to do it? Like, because it's not like Android hardware changes all that much.
So this would be a privilege escalation from an already installed app.
Yeah.
Already on device, like it's local priv-esc. I don't see it as remote, but every time I've said that about any Android vulnerability, someone's later come along and found a way to do it remotely. So I don't know.
Well, I don't know. When you think about this, what are you looking at when you install it? Like, Are these APKs that are easily like affectable, or is this some other bullshit that's just mainstream on
this
the App
is
Store?
native. This is like a bridge library between inter-process communication. So it's native stuff. It's not like an app that you've installed or a core Android.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it looks like you just need to call the Hiddle stuff. You don't actually need to you can invoke it yourself. You don't need to actually use what it's used for. It's just a case where invoking it seems to be enough.
Yeah, and I mean,
a lot of these bugs seem to rely on the fact that you can pretty much fill all available memory on Android at any time from any level of privilege. And
Isn't that what
on
Java
a
does?
desktop, all jokes aside, on a real desktop operating system, for example, if you open like Internet Explorer and it's allowed to use every single byte of memory, then the computer would crash very quickly. We've known that for a long time. However, we run into these things over and over again on mobile devices. So there's some serious disconnect between new developers and old developers when it comes to what's a reasonable amount of memory to allocate for a process.
I definitely think with as time has gone on with our further and further abstractions and frameworks and this and that, your Hello World doesn't have to run inside. You don't have to build tiny ass binaries and anymore because you're using 27 frameworks and that's normal now.
Well,
sad though,
Hello World's
because what
48 meg binary.
Bloatware, fucking everything. So you don't limit anything because something might not work at some point. So no limit on file descriptors anymore. No limit on memory usage anymore. No usage. No disk space.
You need the frameworks because the frameworks provide the security. You idiot.
Well, we use a
I love
framework.
you for saying that. You idiot, Maverick.
Yeah,
Like,
don't
otherwise
just
we
write
have to
good
write
code.
our own compilers and stuff.
Bro, it's
That's why we
bad
use
though.
Java in the first place.
If you're not load testing your shit beforehand and you can't split something between clients, to be honest, that sucks. Watching
This is a
every
bit of an
layer
edge
or
case.
something. Well,
it was found by Zimperium too, so it's not like just some kid stumbles across this. They're auditing the shit out of Android for 0 days. So good, they did their job. It's a little
pretty
weird.
much.
Hey,
There'll be a Metasploit module for this in a few months, and then it'll be forgotten, like stage fright. Although the media doesn't have a nice name for this one, so they can't blow it up out of proportion.
It doesn't have a logo. That's the main problem, I think.
You've got to have a logo.
Confused. What's a government? Is that something that fucks you in the end?
Not in the end, just throughout the entire time, start to finish.
Yeah.
The whole process.
So,
quick question about the 64 to 32 jump back. Would you say it's potentially an analogy to say back in the day when you could log into Gmail with just 8 characters instead of acknowledging the whole password is kind of like the 64 memory call going back to 32 and it's just close enough.
well, yeah, it's gonna it just doesn't have enough space to hold the entire value, right? It's just getting shifted off the end. So just just cut the value in half, and whatever you get is what you got.
Weird thinking.
Yeah.
So I guess next one was a nice Ubuntu bug. Canonical making sick decisions again.
Yeah, network manager IPv6 vulnerability in Ubuntu 18.
Yeah, I think it was 16 and 18 affected. From what I was reading, basically an IPv6 packet, which is like a discovery offer packet, would trigger the DHCP v6 client to be invoked. So the network is saying, I've got IPv6, and then the machine's like, oh, just let me run a process for you that's privileged, and LOL money. But I did also read that it was even though it does lead to like crashing DOS or potential arbitrary execution, that it was in non-default configurations. So, but the interesting thing here was that the DHCP v6 client was hand rolled. I think is mentioned in one of the posts on the Bugzilla or the Launchpad or whatever it's on.
Do you think they're making the argument that IPv6 is non-default configuration? Therefore, if it ends with 6, sorry, nothing to do with us.
No, IPv6 is default configuration. So it's the invoking of the DHCP client is not enabled, but it's available, I believe. So there's a buffer overflow in the DHCP6 client of systemd. Oh, great. That explains a little.
Is that the same? Okay, I'm getting confused. If this is a vulnerability we were talking about last week, in the DH client 6.
Maybe, did we talk about... I don't know. Is this where it's a hand-rolled DHCP6?
I thought it was I didn't think it was I thought it was a command injection, like really trivial.
No, I don't think it's not a command. I don't think it's straight up command injection. It's an overflow, and then, but you can invoke it from the network, which I guess is the main thing. So you can send that off a packet, and then any machine that's configured to handle it will spin up the process for you, and then you can then exploit the process.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with this is that because of nobody really doing IPv6 properly, especially in the retail consumer world, these sort of things traverse like Soho routers and firewalls and stuff. Because it's IPv6, just let it all through.
Yeah.
So issues like DHCP is a local network issue. Like if there's a flaw in DHCP, if somebody's already able to do DHCP on your local Ethernet segment, then you're already fucked. So
yeah, so this is like one step before that, where it invokes. It's like part of the discovery protocols.
Right. Over IPv6.
So, yeah, on IPv6. Yeah, it's a ridiculous feature.
So it's people. There'll be like one neckbeard in an organization that insists on IPv6 for some reason, and that's the reason that it's led to the firewalls, and nothing else uses it at all except that dude on his smelly desk. And as a result of that dude,
go ahead. I'm loving
IPv6 space. IPv4 space is just not enough addresses for our internal networks.
I mean, because elastic IPs obviously aren't a thing at all.
What about
the Internet of Things? When we all have 1 million devices each, we're going to have our own internet. Everyone's going to have their own IPv4 space.
We just need a neckbeard contest in this chat right now, I think. Be lit.
10/8 is not enough for like my own IoT devices. Like,
man.
Each nanobot has its own IP.
Yeah.
Actually,
interesting.
I saw a link that said that IPv6 is faster.
Oh, is it?
No, I'm not.
Oh, jeez.
Squeezes like an extra 20% out of the copper, I guess.
Right. Yeah, it makes it extra conductive. I've heard.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
Did you guys see the Threadripper that got the copper just like straight torn out of the Brock? It was fantastic.
Wait, what?
Someone installed a Threadripper and then it looks like they just literally tore it back out and all the threads stuck. It's just this probably inch mess of just copper coming straight out of the processor.
Odd.
Nice.
Yeah, good stuff.
Isn't that what they're doing isn't that like doing like African countries like in Ghana where they have like those computer dump? They burn all the computers so that they can get the copper out.
Yeah, and the gold and just metals in general.
They got mobsters down there recovering files from like all the discarded hard drives that weren't destroyed and the ones that were destroyed.
Looking for bitcoins. Mining for bitcoins through garbage dumps. Like that'll be Bitcoin mining in the future. We'll be actually getting like mining equipment and digging through landfill looking for old hard drives.
Yeah, looking for the header of a Bitcoin wallet.
Yeah.
That already is, man. Think about that. Like, wasn't there a story about someone losing like 40 BTC on a hard drive they threw away?
I think he's still out there every day, man, going through the garbage. His little hat, little bag,
I'm sure
little
he is,
little,
Well, I mean,
little
you think
big
about
kid.
like your return on that, right?
This
Like,
new hobo on the corner, though, Shell. Think about it, man. He's like, spent all my money on Bitcoin, threw away my hard drive.
God.
Can't win if you never play.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
Can't lose if you never play too.
Yeah.
Well,
but no, I
it's
mean,
a little
you think
different
about the
than like
return.
it's not like looking for a winning lottery ticket or something. You're actually looking for something that's gone if somebody doesn't find it. In theory,
Was
until
it a thumb
quantum
drive?
computing.
Or was it a hard drive? I think it was a thumb drive, wasn't it? It was like in his pants or some shit.
We're talking about Silicon Valley, right? Like the episode of Silicon Valley?
No, this guy, like,
No,
there
it's
was
a real
someone who
guy.
threw away, like, I don't know, it was like 40 or 50 BTC in a scrap yard, like, in the trash. And then, like, went looking for it, and it was in his pants. Like, those aren't the same
He's
color
like
anymore, bro. I'm sorry, but, like, you're not finding them.
Yeah, they actually.
Like a,
That's an actual episode of Silicon Valley. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
most TV episodes about technology are based on real stuff that's already happened.
Nuh-uh.
That's where they get their. Yeah, true. It's true.
Nuh-uh.
Like if you watch Mr. Robot, pretty sure most of the stuff on Mr. Robot actually was done by somebody first before they put it in television.
Sorry, I'm just being
Yeah, dude. Rapid 9.
Whoa, hold up.
Yeah,
Does
right.
that mean that's the same for the Simpsons equation?
Yep. Simpsons did it.
Simpsons
MG did it.
MG did it.
MG did
Mitnick did it.
Put Mitnick back on the fucking end of a toilet. I lost my shit that day. Someone was spraying all over that shit. It was literally a picture of shit in the toilet. It's fantastic.
Lovely.
Sorry, MG. Good
Talking about
names.
poop already. State of what we're doing.
Before we
this
Yeah, what's up?
Oh, I was going to
What's
say.
the next one? Shell?
The next one is a China state-owned company charged with Micron secrets theft.
Say it ain't so.
And it's not only Micron, too. There's some like aerospace companies who had secrets stolen. It's a
What's
big,
the what's the latest verdict on the Supermicro? Because this is another Bloomberg story, and
Well, so
I
this,
didn't really.
this is a little bit deeper than that because this is related to, I believe, there was a X-plane, which is now a drone, which is was produced by Lockheed Martin. It was like an X-30 something, and it's like a combat drone.
Was that this week?
Yeah, and so then what happened was the combat drone, like a near replica of it, appears at a Chinese air show, and it's
Can I say it?
replica of when it was an X-plane before it was given its actual name, which is like RQ dash something, is now like the drone model number, but at the time it was stolen. It was still one of the still like a prototype. So yeah, China just went out and state-owned, stole a bunch of shit, made some drones out of it.
Here's a question. IBM, anyone? Nothing? Nothing.
No.
Not a Red Hat, Lockheed Martin. Have you ever looked at their stack? That's all it is. It's Red Hat.
Yeah, well, I mean, but
Yep, no, that's true. Some of their oldest stuff is
gotta
actually
be-
based off Red Hat too.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
wanted
it
to bring
takes,
that up because
like,
it's interesting.
it's just like you gotta manage it as well, right? Like, I mean, from what I don't know, I'm gonna say that I can imagine that maybe some people weren't doing their jobs very well with,
Yeah.
administering.
That just
Well,
like, I don't know, that
actually-
triggers insider trading in my head, man. Like as far as IBM goes and purchasing them recently. That's really interesting. Because I would believe that like them Lockheed Martin being Red Hat based, like in CentOS based since probably at least 10 years now that I've looked at them. It's definitely interesting and intriguing because that's probably one of their high income markets, you know what I'm saying, as far as spenders go.
I mean,
Can't speak
as
on
far as
Lockheed. and what they're doing, but I know that General Dynamic is super big into Red Hat. Like a lot of their systems that they actually produce for like DoD and stuff like that, those are all mostly Red Hat based.
But you gotta like so. How do I say? The release streams for the general public are not the same release streams for defense. Like, I don't want to go into it too much, but I mean that's something that happens. Like, there is a separate. That's not to say that bugs like aren't patched for the public, but I'm just saying that there's more sensitivity around anything defense when it comes with vendor relationships in any sort of IT stuff, right?
Absolutely. They'll fly their head engineers over from wherever immediately to address like a critical vulnerability. It doesn't matter what the rest of the world is doing. The government's paying millions or billions of dollars for something, and a critical flaw is found. Then you pull out all stops and you go and fix it immediately.
Yeah, you might say that they're running Red Hat
Disagree with
sticks.
that, and I don't want to show my hand too much, but they're not perfect. They're not perfect. They're gonna let things slip, and it really just comes down to time and money, just like everyone else.
Yeah,
Are we
that's
still
very
on this?
true.
I haven't actually got an answer about the Supermicro Bloomberg aspect of this story.
It's not.
I don't think.
Cool.
It's a story that's picked up by everywhere.
Who picked it up? Bloomberg.
It's not like a Bloomberg. This isn't like a Bloomberg exclusive story. I was just the first thing when I, or whatever was linked.
I have to agree with.
news.
I don't like to say what's his name, Sessions, but yeah, he says it is time for China to join the community of lawful nations. International trade has been good for China, but the cheating must stop. I have to agree with that. But what do you mean?
Isn't that what Trump said?
What? Yeah, but there's no yeah, but.
It's China. Like, what are you trying to give back that land in the South China Sea? Like, it's ours. Like, that's.
No, if it's China, you just bring a picture of Pooh Bear. Everyone knows that. You show it to all the locals.
I don't think you're understanding the context of what I'm talking about here. There's a massive trade war going on right now, and this is the latest salvo that's been fired, and it involves a Taiwanese company, which is effectively the US, Taiwan versus China, and there's considerations of espionage that maybe we're not privy to, and nobody is. We're only getting the media's kind of spin on this, which has been carefully orchestrated. So I'm looking for an agenda behind this release of information, given the context of the bickering and fighting that's going on right now over stupid trade tariffs.
Yeah, but also this isn't a new thing for China, right?
Well, it's not. Like this week they got ordered, or a Chinese court actually agreed with the international community that the Lego company owns Legos. The Chinese are like, what? You can't own Legos. Anyway, we can just make our own Legos. We can do whatever we like. We're China. And now finally, with a bit of arm twisting, we got a Chinese court to agree to stop some factory in China from making rip-off Lego.
Yeah, but the problem is that that's not an overarching thing, right? Like every single one of these things is going to be drugged through a Chinese court somewhere for every single brand that they're doing. Like there's never going to be an overarching copyright law enforcement in China.
It's unenforceable. It's unenforceable.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If something can be copied by China, it is copied by China. There's no principle you can call and say that's cheating. I don't like this guy. He should be banned.
Right, but so what I was saying about the whole South China Sea land dispute is it went to the international court and China lost, and China just said, well, we don't recognize your court, lol.
Yeah,
that was the result, and then they kept the land, they kept building on it. It's still ongoing. Right. It's
yeah, but way above our pay grade. There's a lot more ammunition in trade wars than just whatever you see in the media. Trump can sign something tomorrow that just decimates China's agricultural industry. We don't know. This is like a game of brinksmanship going on right now. especially over the last couple of weeks. Every single day, there's a new news story that somehow relates to technological IP theft from China.
Well, technological IP theft and hardware backdoors and all that's
Yeah.
And I think,
so I think,
when
and
we're
there's some other things. There's been some other shows of strength that we've discussed on the show regarding military maneuvers and stuff as well. So
yeah,
there's a
like
bit
when
of
we
brutal
mentioned
stuff.
the territorial dispute stuff that was built into again the Dennisbridge stuff that Nux ended up showing was, you know, when Stuxnet or something is on a box, there's a SIG that says, like, you know, after you own the box, it pops up and says, go see your boss right now before you do anything. And I mean, that's in there, but none of us know why or how exactly. Like, that's all cloak and dagger fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything that involves China, technology, Taiwan, and copyright theft in the news right now has to be taken with extra skepticism. Is my point. Because both sides have got they're both playing silly games with their media and their propaganda and stuff like that.
On to the next one. Two new Bluetooth chip flaws expose millions of devices to remote attacks.
Now, this one has a logo and the name.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is Bleeding Bit.
Not really good, and nothing really good about actually telling you what the hell's going on besides the general synopsis.
Yeah, but it's got a logo.
And it has the word bleed in it.
Oh God.
I know that's scary.
It does actually mention, though, that it does affect a whole bunch of large vendors, which is probably why there's a little bit of a clamp on Aruba being one of them.
I know this.
Yeah, it's just like Cisco-owned companies. Texas Instruments confirmed that, like, some people are probably like squeezing their butt right now.
It's a pretty cool idea how they figured that out. Essentially, what they're doing is they're actually doing a buffer overflow over the air by sending pretty much advertising packets. So, like, the first two will pretty much set the chips into place, and then they'll send one with a flag on set. They'll just pretty much just overflow the entire thing and start actually making random calls of memory. It's pretty.
Seems like something that should be discovered pretty trivially by fuzzing, but again,
yeah, fuzz your shit. Don't talk to cops.
Well, it also mentions in here that it was you can obtain by a legitimate update package or reverse engineering the BLE firmware. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Over-the-air firmware downloads. It's a feature. A firmware update in BLE chips called over-the-air firmware. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like when you do your key exchange. It's all in open air.
Well, there is
for security.
Like, the whole point of BLE is that there's 99% of the time there is no security. That's the whole point of it. It's what it's for. It's for it's for consumer devices. It's not for Cisco kit.
It's like one of the few protocols that never had security in mind. It's like, they don't need.
No, it actually, like, the first when you read, like, introduction to BLE, there's like 3 different modes. One of them's called just works, and it's like no security at all. 00000 is the pairing
No,
code.
I meant like Bluetooth in general, back in like the good old days of Bluetooth.
Yeah, and then assholes like us came along and said, well, what if I can intercept your blah 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 blah? And they're like, fuck. Okay. Now we have to add a PIN number.
Yeah, what if I can make phone calls from your phone in your pocket to 1-900 numbers that I own to make, and you're on the phone for an hour in your pocket?
Mm-hmm.
Blue jacking.
Someone else butt dials for you.
Yeah,
maybe I'm
exactly.
wrong. I don't know.
Man, yeah. So
I think we're going to see a lot more of these issues because there's a lot of, like, devices out there that have got, like, NFC capability for no reason, just so that people can transfer files from their phone to their smart hub or whatever.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing like we were talking about with, like, general bloat in websites too, right? Where clicking the average website, like, webpage that you visit is larger than the goddamn game of Doom.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's like, not only is anytime you add code, you add attack surface. and
right.
with your phone having cell modem and NFC chips and Bluetooth chips and
But if we
Apple
go back to
Pay
like, if we go back to like IoT shit for a second, like you look at a lot of the badges coming out of a lot of different cons, people are using ESPs like crazy, like because they're super easy to program or whatever. But it has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and most people are just making like Wi-Fi meshes to use at the con and stuff, right? But technically, if you had code execution on it, there's no reason you couldn't just use the Bluetooth chip on it as well. Like, and these things are being like people are taking them from like this toy that is used like that you used
Yeah,
for
it's like a $3 chip that you buy to proof of concept. While you're teaching us a room full of students what Bluetooth is, get out your little Arduinos. I've got this little module for you. It costs like $2. ESP, blah blah blah. It does both, and people are taking these things and putting them in legitimate products and selling them on the shelf.
Yeah, like
the fun part is a lot of the stuff even coming out today, there's like no like authentication or security whatsoever. So it's just pretty much like a losing battle. And you start talking about what the permissions of each device has for like use for your phone, for example. Like you can authenticate to like a device on your earphone that gives you pretty much like access to your freaking phone book. It's like, all right, that's not.
Mm-hmm. But I see where you were going with that. With the no, I saw where DNZ was going with that with the idea that these hobbyist kind of chipsets are being found in not just China junk, but like serious brand name junk, rebadged junk with a really really fancy brand name on it. But because turns out pretty much.
I was just gonna say, all you have to do is prototype it on the little thing, and then why would you change the chip that you're gonna use? Like, you just use the same chip because now you know and they're cheap.
Exactly. So there's the maybe because there's been a line blurred between like hobbyist and engineering. Like we're at the point now where just some guy in his house with $5 or $10 worth of gizmos is doing the exact same thing as like rooms full of scientists on the other side of the world.
Well, it's the classic, like the headline that you always see, like 16-year-old creates robot that you wouldn't imagine. And it's like 16-year-old used like the equivalent of Lego Mindstorms and Lua to create a little robot thing that someone else wrote the libraries for. And so everybody wants to be that guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, somebody wrote the libraries for it, so somebody clearly imagined it. Like that's the first problem.
Right. Yeah.
But at the same time, sometimes you have to let kids get some props for doing good stuff, even though the engineers behind the scenes might say, "Well, that's trivial. That's stupid."
Oh, I don't want to shit on kids that are like doing good stuff.
Don't shit on kids. That's my point. You should not shit on kids.
Don't do that. Fuzz your software. Don't.
Yeah, I'm just saying that like
wait. Don't.
The source of all your problems.
The news article inspires other people that think that that's all you have to do. That it like to reach the end of the game is to just get that where that news article got to. When really it's just praising a kid for doing something. I think that's where the line is. Where you're talking about the blurred line.
Well, yeah. What I mean is that the ESP 258. What is it? The
88266.
88266 chips. Yeah, the fact that that we're doing hobbyist crap at home on our Arduinos and Raspberry Pis with these $5 chips, one hopes or expects that there's like some $1,000 chip on the other side of the world that's being used for serious security stuff, but that's not true at all, ever. And we just have to get used to it, I think. Is that unless proven otherwise, assume once you crack the case open that it's just all garbage inside, Chinese crap, cheapest.
So another thing that came up, I think it was the last week actually, was like the size of the tool chains required for like FPGA programming, for example, being you need like 32 gig of shit installed because the line between like the brain of the hardware developer isn't working the same as the brain of the software. The two classes of people are thinking very differently. I guess that's a pretty big gap in security. Like when you think about people who are making stuff for cars or planes or whatever, and they're using 32 gig tool chains of God knows what.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're saying that Android is terrible, and we're like, and that's something that everyone's using, So then what is different in the 30 gig toolchain size?
Yeah,
Like-
I mean, it's the classic, like, I guess like the farm to table problem, right? There's no one person who can have like some like cohesive idea of what's going on across these like lines, because both of like, in order to do the hardware stuff for this, you have to have, be this hardware genius who's done nothing but hardware for years, and then in order to do the software side of that same coin, people developing the software are insane. So like with larger scope projects like that, there's always going to be that huge disconnect.
It's very rare to find people that are across all the different domains and skill sets.
Yeah,
to
and I mean,
understand the whole farm to table thing, right?
yeah, and I mean, even if you do find someone like that, like if you're doing something at scope, like the Android project, for example, it's like that one dude is going to be able to do so very little, right, across that entire project, like, because he's just one dude. There's one dude that understands all that very well, but you have to delegate everything.
It's kind of by design. I guess that's how compartmentalization works in government and defense and stuff as well. You can't have. Yeah, you have to kind of hyper specialize people into their own little contained niches. Because there just isn't enough bandwidth in everyone's
with that
brains.
model. Yeah, like even with that model though, which like where you have Mr. Front End Programmer, genius front end guy, and then you have Mr. Back End Programmer, genius back end guy, and then you've got your manager overarching. Like that manager might be really good at doing something as well, but he doesn't know the depth because it's not his job to know the depth either. Even though he could know the depth, he doesn't know the depth.
Yeah, and there's always going to be the gaps because, like I said, even if there's this genius front end, like hardware guy and just genius software guy, and they're like, even if they're the same person, right? There's no guarantee that they're also good at security. So it's like it's going to always fall. Something is always going to fall through the cracks.
Middle. Uh-oh.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, it's just product of the world we live in.
Like, don't put the security in initially, but once it's like ideally before it goes live anywhere, staple on that security library or whatever. Somebody makes a call to it. It's not like somebody will just kind of say okay and sidestep it.
You got to go into the store and buy the spooky October security bonus chest. It's 400 gems.
And you may or may not get security, so buy a few just in because you RNG. And if you don't get it after 10, like then just RNG, just keep going.
Yeah,
you might get a white security, but not a shiny purple one.
Yeah.
Damn. Last news story. New Stuxnet variant allegedly struck Iran.
More aggressive and sophisticated.
Yeah. I don't even want to comment on Stuxnet anymore. Last time I did, no one believed me, and then it all turned out to be true, and then I got really upset for a few years. I'm not going to comment on stuff.
For a few years?
Yeah, dude. It's pretty sick of... It hurts being right sometimes, especially when you talk a lot of shit, and then sometimes it comes true. It doesn't feel good.
You know you want to do it. Come on. Do it. Come on.
Can we see where, does it say where this variant was actually found?
Just same place.
Which antivirus vendor is the one reporting on it?
Wait, it was Natanz or whatever?
I don't have the link open in front of me, but did it come from antivirus researchers of some sort? Did Kaspersky or Trend or somebody pick this up?
Just having a quick look now.
Yeah, it says that Iran. From what it sounds like Iran's reporting on more stuff happening in Iran.
Yeah,
it says ISNA news agency quoting the Iranian official
passive defense organization.
Who did the?
Well, I think we'll wait for an example of this to come from outside of Iran before we start saying, "Oh, it's a new Stuxnet variant."
Right. Yeah.
Plus, I think being a variant as well, I mean, it's not a whole new thing that we're seeing. Whereas, like, when Stuxnet was first seen, it was like an extreme, like, it had qualities that were not before seen in the wild at a level that had not, like, really, hadn't really been used. So that's why it was interesting. Whereas just being a variant, I mean, it's like if you look at Mirai, like how many or Zeus or whatever, like how many variants are there made by like 10-year-old kids?
There's probably you can probably go on hack forums right now, and there's like some guy selling like Stuxnet variant, $400 with loader.
That's pretty good.
Undetectable, 0 for 57. Takes down nuclear reactors.
I like it.
And there's people buying it. There'd be people that actually believe that shit and pay money for it.
I mean, if I was a antivirus company, maybe I'd just buy that and I wouldn't have to make it myself. What?
Really, if you think about it, if I was an antivirus company and I wanted to get some press, I would just call it Stuxnet 2.0.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know, dude. That's Stuxnet is like 10 years ago now, so surely there'd be something a little bit more up to date, like ransomware-y, WannaCry. You want to get press?
Well,
only old guys like us even know what Stuxnet is. If I go and ask my 18-year-old housemate, "Hey, ever heard of Stuxnet?" I'll go, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Fuck, you just reminded me. It is 10 years old. Holy crap!
Wow.
Yeah, remember that time that Iran wanted to make enriched uranium, and there was a massive plot that used like custom malware and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of like unreleased 0 days.
It was like zero-day auto-run.lnk exploits. There's modules in fucking Metasploit for it now. No, you don't know what I'm talking about? Okay.
Dude, wow, it blows my mind that happened.
Remember the time when Obama continued one of Bush's programs and got Israel to agree to not bomb a fucking nuclear reactor so that we could move into cyber warfare? And the whole reason that cyber exists as an industry right now is pivoting on that fucking story?
Yep.
No, you don't know what I'm talking about? No, all right.
No idea.
Only
Sorry,
90s kids remember.
Jeez.
Only 90s kids. It's like Nirvana. So only 90s kids remember. Stuxnet, Nirvana, Pearl Jam.
I keep mixing it up with that swordfish movie.
Flannel shirts.
It's like there's that chick with the Nirvana shirt on, and there's only 90s kids know who this is with Kurt Cobain, and she's like, who?
Yeah, like Stuxnet virus in the background. Yeah. Exactly what it is.
There's potential here. I like it.
Only 90s kids will get this, like 9 Inch Nails, Dooku malware, Flame malware.
Oh man.
Alice in Chains.
Yeah. Melissa the virus. I love you, Melissa. Come back.
Alice.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
It's
so
all about
I'm
that
very
MS Blast.
just using the word Stuxnet makes me suspicious. Like who benefits from this?
Yeah, that's a good.
And it would totally make sense if Iran, because they're probably still salty about it. Like 10 years later, they're like, "Fucking Stuxnet, hate Stuxnet."
It
would make sense that they're the only people in the world that even give a shit about Stuxnet anymore. Of course, it will come out of like presstv.ir or some Iranian news organization.
Pretty fucking good point. Everybody's just like, meh, Stuxnet, whatever. But Iran probably is not.
Right. No, it's like Kanye West still complaining about like some Chicago rapper from like 20 years ago that insulted him. He's the only one that cares. He's the only one that remembers.
Right.
It's just
Like, man, I heard a really good Kanye quote. It's actually in a Daft Punk documentary, and they interview Kanye, and he says, "Look, my parents were active, so if I can, I'm gonna activate."
Oh my god!
Is
that really close?
Yeah, you can watch that documentary. It's called Daft Punk Unchained. They interview Kanye. He says that shit. It's fucking 10 out.
What the?
If you were to put Kanye in a room with a bunch of us, basically, I think we all find that we're exactly the same as this guy in so many ways. Getting a lot of background noise there, Princess.
Jesus.
Mute.
Princess.
She has TV on. What are you watching?
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. Jesus Christ. Being considerate.
It's all good.
So this, just for everyone who's watching, I guess we should just remind you, this is a wing it episode. Like, we didn't really plan this at all because our
Dad's gone.
master planner.
We got the keys to the car, and we only have $20 for pizza, so we're just gonna have to.
Yeah.
Don't tell the babysitter.
Could somebody help? I'm stuck in the attic.
Oh god. Yeah. It's
So
we're
that's
just
all
doing.
that's all the news stories covered. Is that's the end of the news story?
Yeah, I thought from there we can go on about like
Let's create a bot.
people.
Oh.
Yeah, like what people would like to see going forward as far as like guests or topics go. Like now would be a good time to tell us.
Elon Musk. I think that'd be a good guess.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah,
You
we
reckon?
could.
Further down the rabbit hole, apparently.
I want to see Elon get fucked up on ThugCrowd on 1 bottle of Robitussin, 2 Jolly Ranchers, and a Sprite in a styrofoam cup. Elon, come on
Yeah.
down.
I think he'd
We
be able
ask,
to do
he'll
it.
probably come.
Poor Elon.
Bottle of
Maybe we can
Moa.
get. Maybe we can literally get Kim Jong Un on this podcast. Under his alias, of course. Whatever. Not his real name. But under his
I would
cool
definitely.
hyper.
I want to know what it's like to not shit.
It probably is.
Oh,
really
yeah.
comfortable. That may be why he's so angry all the time.
Well, yeah,
He's
it's
just
kind of, he
telling
does look kind of. He's kind of bloated. He looks like he's retaining a lot of something.
A lot of shit, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I think the contest that we should put out for next week is find Kim Jong Un's phone number. Anybody that can find his actual phone number,
Or
win.
his line, or his Wicker, or something. His
Yeah.
his
Direct.
kick, his hip chat,
It's
His
gotta be a-
Facebook.
he
his
doesn't.
QQ,
He is a.
He's probably on WeChat.
WeChat, yeah.
He's rumored to have.
Bigo Live.
It would be really interesting though to actually get a hold of that. Although, I mean, what are we gonna do, right? Start winning.
Yeah, didn't we see last week how like a significant portion of all Korean internet traffic was surreptitiously BGP rerouted through China at some point when it shouldn't have been
Oh,
for like 6 months, and it only just sort of came out.
I think it's okay, right?
Well, I mean, when I
friends.
read that story, I immediately thought, okay, this has got something to do with North Korea, not South Korea. But I could be wrong.
BGP. Accidents just happen sometimes, you know?
You know, accidentally redirected my etherwallet.com to some other box. Sorry about that, guys. Got a bunch of private keys. I'll give them back though.
Do you
I'll give them
guys
back,
follow?
though.
There's a Twitter BGP hijack stream.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very
A lot of
interesting. I don't often find it useful, but like it's interesting. It's like kind of like
I
half
thought
the
it was-
posts. Sorry, go on.
Rest in peace, Jamie Cochran. But like 2 months before she passed, she put out a really fun. Well, it was funny to me. She put out a tweet on Twitter, obviously, and it said, "Alert! Vis has just learned about BGP. Alert! Alert! Vis now knows about BGP. Fuck.
Danger.
Consequences are never going to be the same. He can showdown. He can showdown BGP now. Fuck.
Man, there was I remember doing a BGP. There was a challenge on one of the DEF CON qualifiers, maybe. You had to like write a BGP client and exploit the server. That was pretty cool.
Wait, what was that on?
Like a DEF CON CTF.
A lot of this
qualifier
stuff is just they don't like. I can imagine there'd be some. I hope there'd be some panel at DEF CON saying, no, we don't do like gateway protocols for like intranation traffic. No, just don't talk about it, please, because it's all terrible, and we don't want the kids to know about this. Only the CCIEs and above are allowed to know about this.
Only the CISPs are allowed to understand the concepts, but not the consequences.
What's the equivalent of like the Grand Wizard in Cisco world? Like if the Grand Wizard is the head of the KKK, right? So
Yeah, it's Grand Wizard.
what's
but
the
all right.
highest degree? The highest degree in the order of Cisco Illuminati? Like, what's the highest grade that could be conferred upon an acolyte? Is it CCIE? Is there
CCO?
something higher?
Well, CCIE,
No, I mean
that's
technical engineering certificate qualification wise.
The most inappropriate projection ever, dude.
I think there is I think there's different. I think they have different streams now to get to CCIE or whatever. It's like now.
So there's nothing
it's
about
no longer
CCIE. So
it's not a linear path anymore. It's more like a pyramid shape, like a triangle.
It's like a scheme.
right.
That's
kind of like the pyramid with the Illuminati. Oh, perfect sense.
When you get to, when you're the CCIE, that's when you get you've got enough degrees to get the eye on the top of the pyramid.
Well, yeah. But what's in the middle of CCIE? It's a fucking eye, man. Right in the middle of the fucking name.
it's the all-seeing eye.
At what
You know,
level
like
do I
the
get
eye
Mountain
in the
Dew?
pyramid. Do you guys look at a dollar bill lately? Jeez.
Welcome to InfoWars.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, that's what this is.
Maybe not. Just subscribe with Twitch Prime. Thank you very much, friend.
So Detro had a few requests. He wants to see if we can actually get McAfee on our show.
Yeah.
Instead of eat his own. Oh yeah, no. I think we can go that far. I think he's going to do that himself, but definitely.
McAfee comes at a pretty hefty price right now, I would say. Although he has done some very stupid cameo appearances on like YouTube videos and stuff for apparently no money. So
Well,
I don't know.
Didn't he call into DerbyCon or something at some point? I know he gave the phone number out.
Yeah.
Look, I think if we did have McAfee on, we would have to not troll him and just let him be him, and I think that would just be the best entertaining way for it to go. Just let him talk.
Absolutely. Don't correct him. Don't ask him. Don't even question him. If he says something ridiculous that's patently wrong, just go, yeah, whatever. Keep going, bro.
Exactly.
Tell us small.
Yeah. Stay creative. Keep expressing, Mr. McAfee, as long as you can. You haven't got much longer on this planet.
You know, I was talking about not shitting on people before, so that's relevant.
Yeah.
Don't
I
be
think
an
it's just a
asshole.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Just don't be an asshole. I mean,
Like
you don't need to worry about all the small isms out there. Just try to be nice to
Yeah,
sometimes you gotta. Like, Louis C.K. made a pretty good joke about his kids, which is what half of his comedy routines are about. But he made a joke about how when his daughter gives him like a picture of a dog, he has to go, "Wow, that's amazing! I'm going to put that up in the fridge." He can't go, "What the fuck is this? That doesn't look anything like a fucking dog at all, you idiot!" He can't talk to his kids like that at all because it messes him up.
It's the Maddox kids where he judges your kids art. You know, like I'd rather burn to death with a hairy fire truck. I'd rather burn to death than be saved by that hairy piece of shit.
Right. So how many children does Maddox have?
Zero.
None. Right. Do you think he'll ever have children?
I would hope so.
Anyone would want to.
I just want the legacy
of Maddox.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
No.
That's a dead end right there. He'd have to leave his DNA on a bus seat and hope for the best to continue on in this reality.
Boy.
Dude, I honestly would believe that his DNA is on many bus seats.
Oh my.
Yeah.
It's already there.
Oh God, Maddox. Ugh.
Get the bus.
That is not a pretty picture.
Gross.
It's an accurate picture though of Maddox.
But Armenian people are great though. I don't mean to cast aspersion on Armenian people in general, but Maddox specifically can go fuck himself.
Yeah, exactly.
And all of Armenians can go fuck themselves because of Maddox.
Wait, hold on.
But I don't mean to say all Armenians are bad. They all have to bear the responsibility
pay
of that
bills.
fucking asshole.
They'll get a mortgage and a house to feed.
Right.
I don't want to make a blanket statement, but blanket.
Exactly.
Oh, no. Don't be
Fuck
an
blankets,
ass.
all
Oh,
of them.
Man, I thought we were gonna have a blanket party.
Man.
No. I
four
don't,
and
I
five.
don't like
Sorry,
making
no.
blanket. I don't like making blanket statements, but all blankets are terrible.
Boy, oh boy.
Uh,
Are there any other news stories that anyone had that we didn't cover?
I know, but this chat is super edgy right now. I feel like I'm on some sort of chat. Dirty. I need a
This is what
shower
happens when
after
we don't have you here looking after us and
I
keeping
know.
things
I know.
civil. It just descends. It's like a race to the bottom.
I think we're almost.
I think you've exceeded your. I think you've exceeded your expectations.
Yeah.
At least mom's here. At least she's not going to let us get too astray.
Yeah.
As long as someone's here to rein us in.
If it helps, I did see a thing about another Intel vuln that's allegedly like a hyper-threading issue.
Oh yes.
And then like there's a link to the info, but it's one of the pending CSV things, so it's like, all right, until I see the receipts, like what's up with that?
Port smash.
There's some stuff. I'll drop the GitHub. It's like subbed out of the article on ours.
Yep. You know as much as I can talk about.
Oh no, you know too much, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Oh, shoot. Refrain.
So, yeah,
Hello.
hyper exploits. What's up?
Hey, Dade.
How are you?
Doing well.
Doing good.
That's great.
So,
what are you up to?
In bed.
Cool.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is another hyper-threading timing attack, which I feel like is not like against OpenSSL. I feel like they're not always that. This one's obviously like put together with a bunch of shell scripts, so anyone can do it. But I feel like using this in the wild against like if you had shared core affinity, with another process that you're attacking already, like I don't know, is that really the best way to go about? Doing whatever you're doing. There's probably better ways to retrieve keys. Specifically being a microarchitecture attack as well, I mean, obviously limits your attacks, like, it's only going to work in only so many situations like Skylake and KB Lake out of the box, which is relatively new. I think, Safe Princess, you can at least say that, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I'd much rather talk about SSD and crappy encryption.
Oh, the hard drives?
What are your thoughts on that?
I thought it was amazing because we've been trying to figure out how we could do data recovery on SSDs, and now we know we can, at least on some.
Yeah.
Nice.
Makes you wonder how long, police and FBI and all these people keep these hard drives that they can't access.
The rumors indefinitely, from what I've been told.
They'll just stay in the evidence box forever, right?
Yeah, but
a crime can only be in the U.S. at least. Federally, I think the statute is 5 years after discovery.
Some crimes, though.
Yeah,
But
sometimes national security doesn't fall into any of that kind of. There's no rules.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I still think that this is just kind of the head of the whole thing, that we're going to find a whole bunch more that have crappy encryption also.
Yeah, it's weird.
This is just. I think this is. I don't want to sound too governmentally. Is that even a word?
Yeah.
This is consumer grade stuff.
Sure, we'll make that a word.
Yeah. So like you have like FIPS compliant, like secured media.
Well, that right there says that the government can get to it.
Yeah.
Did they have a
As soon as you said FIPS, you've just written everything off.
I mean, we decided that AES was going to replace DES, and what algorithms were going to be included in that. Like, what is AES and who's? I mean, yeah.
Clearly, someone that's got our best interests at heart, just like looking out for the little guy. and his pawn stash on his little portable SSD drive that he got for $50. That's got to have NSA grade encryption on it that nobody can ever break. That $50 consumer device.
So one of the things that SSD thing reminded me of was one of the major updates to Mac OS. I guess like two or three major updates ago. I guess when the full disk encryption, the key wasn't required at the time you turn the machine on. It's like when you log into your account. Like, so
yeah.
How does the disk get unlocked and you boot the OS off the disk and then you decrypt like the whole disk? That doesn't make sense.
Well,
it's like a lot of things that say it's encrypted. Like the touchscreens, I'm trying to actually kind of play around with. They say it's encrypted, but honestly, it's just virtual drives. And you can actually still mount them the same. It's just the
and
process.
we all know, like from forensics point of view and recovery point of view, once it's decrypted and up and running and powered, then fuck your encryption. Like it's decrypted in memory, or it's decrypted at rest, or it's decrypted and powered up. It doesn't matter. We can get at it.
Yeah.
To quote a Leo one time, don't worry about your disk encryption. We'll just flashbang you while you're taking your morning shit.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
No knock order.
Yeah. I hope he's listening.
I don't. But at the same time, we can't really go around shitting on kids. We've already had this discussion.
Stop there. Stop. Ceasefire.
Chill out.
Wait a minute. Haven't I seen this before in Hackers?
Far out, man.
Far out, man. It's like I'm God or something.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Don't make me
DNC,
bring back the
where's your?
soundboard.
I was about to say, where's your soundboard?
Hold on, talk some shit and I'll plug it in.
Shit.
Oh man, freaking episode 0 all over again.
Oh god.
Well, I'm glad this isn't a repeat for me then,
What do you mean?
because I wasn't here to hear episode 0, so it's not a repeat
That
for me.
doesn't exist. That never
Oh.
happened.
Sure, I'm sure it did
That's-
somewhere.
It did, and it got lost purposefully. Allegedly.
Get a FOIA act to get it back.
Gotta talk to the Twitch gods and try to figure that one out. So who's actually played with LTE? I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I'm actually starting with SRS LTE. It seems to be pretty much more or less a protocol stack and nothing fully implemented. Just kind of curious if anyone else has played with.
I
not
watched
with
it.
I played with OpenBTS briefly, but not for a while.
OpenBTS is a pretty finished project, but it's now decrepit. They don't even actually maintain it anymore.
I was definitely surprised at all the crazy stuff, like just cell networks in general. Like learning about them, just the little bit that I have, threw me for a loop. A lot of interesting stuff.
I have really limited LTE experience, but I had one of those home cell phone, I guess it's the femtocells, when your signal's shitty and it leeches off your internet. I don't know if that's relevant to that.
Yeah, the
It's all good.
AT&T.
Same thing. It's just a different way.
All right. It would not function if I put it behind my firewall. I had to present it before my firewall. Otherwise, it would just lock up. And I saw it had the anti-tamper air quote in there. But that's about as far as I got. Fortunately, well, because I didn't have to keep using it. But
there we go.
There we go. Greatest and latest.
What a can of worms you opened.
Pork chop sandwiches.
Go! Pork chop sandwiches!
Oh god.
Excellent.
So I'm very brand new to LTE. Like I kind of read up on how how GSM works back when that was still fun. It still is fun now, but I don't know. Kind of a noob to all this stuff. I'm just kind of seeing if anyone has interest in doing anything like that. I know some people were requesting that we do future tutorials and stuff like that for these LOL days. I think that would actually be a good idea for us.
I think so. I think
Yeah,
a
I'm
lot
down.
of people that carry like mobile devices around with them all day, every day, have absolutely no idea how they work. So I'm always a big fan of people diving into fundamentals.
Yeah,
Modems especially.
Communication.
Yeah, LT is a good one. I've been playing with FM tuning, I guess FM tuners you would call them on Android.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're on every single device, whether you know it or not. That's how.
Wait,
That's how.
your cell phones are radio? Shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude. Nobody told us that they're putting
No,
radios in phones now.
It was just like, no, man, it's not a radio, it's a cell phone. You get this with my Wi-Fi cable.
Yeah. No, but there's actual like people out there that are trying to convince certain vendors to re-enable the FM radio from their stock Android device from years ago because they love it and they're using it.
recorder to a damn giant?
I want to know how you turn from a tape recorder into a damn giant. And the answer is the FM radio in your fucking phone.
Dude, there was actually like companies advertising of like, hey man, they were like, hey, the cell phone providers are screwing you, man. You got to get your FM radio to work. It was like, yeah, that was actually the coolest thing I've discovered. There's actually a radio in there that's actually able to listen at around 100 meg.
I can listen to Freebird for free.
You can also transmit. Don't tell anybody.
I can send Freebird.
You can pirate radio. You can take over 101.1 shithead and the fuckwit on Channel 9 in the mornings. You can take it over really easily.
Don't tell Uncle Eddie.
You can be sitting in traffic and everyone around you has to listen to whatever you decide they have to listen to.
Freebird.
From your Android phone.
Hackers.
And now it's like, now it's pretty much there's people out there who are hacking I2C to pretty much get their to turn into transmitter.
SIM swappers.
I just go hack WiMAX. That's all.
I don't know much about WiMAX.
I don't really know much either. Please explain.
Yeah, WiMAX is what Intel promoted so that the phone companies would do LTE.
Ah.
Oh yeah.
I would like to say the biggest hackers nowadays are the SIM swappers.
Social engineering version 2.
We need to stop them before stopping anyone else. So they're the big hackers right now.
I resemble that remark.
Hurt me in my soul.
You can't get SIM swapped if you don't have a SIM.
Exactly. None of my phones have SIMs.
I use a public phone, so therefore I don't even have a cell phone.
That's right. That's right.
I just go to the payphone. Yeah.
Yeah. With a hoodie.
When you SIM swap, right? Doesn't it change your hardware address by salting and hashing against your phone number and the number of that SIM?
Unless you have unless you have a software SIM.
Rambo 1.
Yeah, you're safe from SIM swapping if you use a payphone. Just connect Discord to your payphone and you're fine.
Acoustic couplers. Everything else is new again.
Kid.
I'm right
That
now.
would be true, except some payphones are connected cellular. So I
I'm
don't
shivering.
understand.
I'm shivering outside right now. I'm using a payphone connected to Discord.
You could use the microphone on your smartphone with a payphone as an acoustic coupler. So you could use the microphone and the speaker on your smartphone to act as an acoustic coupler on the payphone. And I don't see what that would achieve, but you totally could do it.
Hey Dan, didn't you have a PBX bridge?
I did, yeah. I think it was a go to
Should we
meeting.
call someone? Should we call someone? Can we call Load?
I don't
Call
think
Load.
so. I let it lapse. I didn't pay the bill.
I wanted to call him and ask him if he could
Yo,
come and coming up.
did you guys see the tweet of Louis Mensch saying "lols" like it's Russian?
Oh,
yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, tell Hector about that one.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, she finally fucking outed it. So I guess we got to talk about it now. It's the truth.
Sorry, who is this? Who is she? Who does she work for? Louise Mensch?
The internet?
Sorry.
I wonder if that.
The only time I've heard that name is when people say, "Did you see the tweetwear?" and then blah 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 blah. So I don't know how many. I haven't heard any of her albums. I haven't seen any of the movies. I don't know who the fuck she is. Is she anybody at all? I don't think she is.
Man,
I don't think she's a real
it's just
person.
making me smile right now. It's actually kind of fun to listen to.
She's Louise.
She's Louise.
Yeah.
There's an old song called Louise. I'm gonna guess.
As they say in Scotland, who is she when she's at home? Like she's Louise on the tweets, but who is she when she's at home?
I think that's a very Australian saying. Who is she when she's at?
She's Louise when she's at home.
Louis
money. That's what they call on the streets.
Things are about to get very spicy in the 10-year-olds doing social engineering attacks against the CIA people because Human Hacker has tweeted 10 hours ago he's about to start recording his audiobook for social engineering.
Wait,
Guys, I'm going to sim swap the CIA.
Oh my
Oh, you're talking about the art of social engineering?
It's about to be an audiobook. So
Yep. No, actually, the first one was, and I listened to it a couple years ago. It's pretty good. I recommend.
The art of sim swapping?
No. That must be like the how to hack computers, like the 1-hour audiobook that you can spend $20.
Sim swap for dummies.
No, like the art of social engineering. It was an audiobook for it. Highly recommend it. And also, they just released actually the second version of it.
Wow. You know, on Craigslist, sim means something entirely different. This guy
Please
doesn't
elaborate. What does sim mean?
Sim swapping costs $50 extra. That's all you need to know.
Darn these kids and their names.
NSA also means something completely different.
Yeah.
Just totally different.
Yo, so let me tell you guys a story. I went to Dunkin' Donuts the other day, and she got my order wrong, okay? So I just sim swapped her.
What the fuck? You totally used somebody else's rewards.
Ever after the end.
It's a joke. Everything we say here is a joke.
I was about to say how long does the disclaimer last for? Do we have to re-up the disclaimer after
You gotta
a
read the
certain number of
licensing, the fine
minutes?
print. It's like an FCC call sign every 10 minutes.
Oh, the joke.
I have a feeling, me being on the stream, I'm going to have the CIA kicking down my door.
It's all a joke.
that's a
Hope that
bad
never
thing.
happens. That's not fun. Don't let it happen.
Only if we end the stream. If they're too easy listening in, they can't.
If you leave the door unlocked, you don't have to kick it in. You should be
Yeah, just
considerate.
keep it open.
Just keep the door open. What do you have to hide?
Yeah. Next level security training.
Yeah, just not waste their flashbangs.
Put a mirror by the door. Maybe it'll instantly have them leave.
Like, oh no, there's nothing but law-abiding officers here.
Oh darn. We got the
As
wrong
soon as they
house
come in, just
again.
say the floor is lava, and they'll all like freak out and jump up. The millennials, right? The millennials.
Remember, we're not lawyers.
I just
We
looking to
don't
make sure
give
you had
legal
your
advice.
headphones on before I did something.
Holy fuck.
Yes, for a full disclaimer, refer to previous episodes, use your best judgment, follow technicalities and legalities, be good.
Shut the fuck up. The
Yep.
door.
Yes.
Buzz your software.
Pause your
Don't shit on kids if you're DNZ.
I think, guys, I think we should get every sim swapper in the scene, and we should just sim swap the CIA.
Wait, why am I blocked from Louise Mensch?
It's Louise Mensch.
Oh, she's a list user, yo. I think she uses the Wesley Crusher dude's list he was rolling for a while.
I'm on the list.
Are you actually connecting to something?
Yeah, she is.
He's sending a fax.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a
She's
fact on a
connecting
modem.
to a server.
You've got mail.
I remember that movie. Tom Hanks. Good times.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Here we go.
I've listened enough to you, Navi. Fucking hell.
Dialed into a into a soundboard.
That's not my soundboard. Whose soundboard is that?
No sec princess.
She used a list to block me? Why am I on a block list? I'm not an asshole on the
It's the
internet.
game, probably the Gamergate block list.
She uses.
Are you on that?
She uses the gestures and a couple other ones.
The Midnick block list.
Yeah, right.
The Midnick
Start
one.
that one. She had me blocked for the longest time, and then for some reason I'm unblocked, and then she like retweeted me or
She
something.
probably blocked you again.
Well,
The sort of people that block people are the kind of people that assume they know everybody that's important in the world, and everybody except that list can go fuck themselves.
Yeah,
Those are the
like
people that don't grow or learn ever. The people that block,
just find it
they
weird.
never
Like when,
expose themselves to new ideas. So, and they never get to meet.
You know, sometimes they shit on you a little, but you just take it and block them individually.
I just find it weird when I'm blocked by someone I haven't trolled yet. Like if I troll them, then okay, block me. That's fine. That's how you win, actually. But
I've gotten some pretty righteous block. Like Zero Hard totally blocked me. I feel like that's one of my achievements. Special unlock.
I don't know. It's kind of like those bullet points you add to your resume. It's like, I am this cool, be blocked by these assholes.
I have a question for you guys. Do you guys put ketchup on your donut?
I've tried it once.
Get out of this chat right now.
Ah, damn it.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Who is this guy?
Who, me?
Asking questions about ketchup.
It's like
I'm
pineapple
Dade.
pizza.
Which Dade?
Zero cool, man.
Yeah, I'm Zero Cool. You can call me Dade Murphy.
Dude, I thought you were black.
No, I'm actually Chinese. I used to be part of the
State
Bronx team.
sponsored.
Dude, everything China state sponsored. People don't get it.
Oh boy,
It's one of those nights. This is fun.
it is one of those nights.
Yeah. On that note, though, I'm about to take the doggies for a walk.
Yeah.
I'm a computer.
Dude.
Dang, man. He's ripping it.
What's up?
Me too.
Me too.
Me too. Yeah, I
So
think
should
it's
we just
probably
go
about-
ahead and pop smoke and extricate and just get the fuck out?
Yeah, I think
that's
All the
it's
night
about
before
time
this gets.
we would be
gets
ending anyway.
Hope you guys
You
make
can- You could take all of my dogs out for a walk. I have 4 Irish Wolfhounds and 2 Spinonis.
Oh
They'll
boy,
probably fight.
are doing
You don't want that.
it's a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
a lot of butt sniffing.
It's been a nice hang. We should do it again, but
Yeah.
Next
yeah.
week?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Next week, same time, same place.
Really?
I think
Tuesday?
Yeah.
How awesome.
We'll be a little bit more
Every
organized
week.
again, and
Hopefully we do something fun.
hopefully we have someone cool to talk to. That's not all of us. But they're always.
If
You
not, no promises, but I figured the only way to do this is pretty much think we can actually do like a tutorial. I'm actually going to try to figure out SRS LTE, probably create a small class just to force myself to learn it. I think that'll be kind of
Hell yeah.
fun.
Let's link up on that, Pike. I'd like to do that with you.
Yeah, same, dude.
Sweet. So I figured if we can
sounds
all
fun.
focus on that, if nothing comes up, we'd pretty much just pull something from the side like, all right, kiddos, we're going to learn about SRS LTE and the LTE stack and how to be cool with self.
Yes.
Yo, that sounds rad.
Yeah.
I figured that's
Sounds good.
something worthwhile and fun, and
Hell
also
yeah.
motivation to learn it.
I'm game.
Very cool.
How to get your door kicked in the next 2 weeks. All right.
No,
I'm
we're
just
not
kidding. I'm just
Shut the
joking.
fuck up. To the war.
All
Close
right,
your
shut up, get
software.
away. See you guys.
Shut up,
Alright,
get
Peace
away.
on kids.
See y'all later.
Have a good night.
Night, guys.